Hello, everybody. Welcome again to the Interesting Modeling Company live. This is a pop-up live. This is a pop-up live to try and make amends for last night's cock-up live, because that was, honestly, moral of the story. Don't do a live webcast when you are on the edge of exhaustion, which is why tonight I'm doing a live webcast on the edge of exhaustion. Anyway, let's skip ahead from that. What are we going to be doing tonight? Well, what we're hoping to do, he said, having mentioned this the other night, is we are really hoping to button this one up tonight. And in fact, we've got a couple of small jobs that we need to do on this, and then that's it. It is done. It is finished. I'm not going to worry about any of the things that bother me, other than I'll probably just go in there and do some tidying up before Telford. Hopefully I'm going to Telford. So let's get on with it, shall we? Let's really get on with it. Let's get our weapons of choice ready. My Despy cutters and my Swan Morton scalpel. There it is. And our super glue, which is just up here. And incidentally, these really big kind of lolly sticks, they came via it was a gift set of biscuits sent by John Walker up in Scotland. So thank you, John. I mean, they were all mounted on these, but goodness me, what excellent sticks for doing modeling and things. So let's get on with it. So what we're going to do is we've got some it's the motor for the windscreen wipers, two little motors for the windscreen wipers, and they need to go onto the back of the clear glass. So we will be doing that, and I will be answering your questions. I think probably your main questions will be, why are you doing another live show? Do you have no shame? To which the answer is no, I don't. So let's get that out of the way first of all. So, dear, he's easily amused by his own jokes. That's the tragedy of it all. Okie dokie. And I will come back to your questions in a minute. There they are. I'm looking for parts number 94, and these are these two little things here. I think we'll see if we can do a quick zoom in. Trying to remember this time to make sure I am zooming in on the things that we're talking about, and we're not looking at me or whatever. And oh God, honestly, last night, folks, that was just a collision of absolute farce. I really should have called that one off last night, because like I say, I came in through the front door and I thought, must do a live, and my head was all over the place. So we're doing this one. We're doing this one just to compound the error, really. So I've also got to try and get used to doing stuff on camera. So, okay, here we go. So we've got to drop these little wiper motor things here into the the recesses there. So in theory, just going to pick up a little bit of super glue. So in theory, they should. Checks to see which way round they go. They go curve upwards. So what I'm going to do here is I'm not going to use tweezers. I am going to pick them up with the tip of a scalpel. So we just need to get, where is it? There we go. We need to get that into the windscreen like so. Despite the fact that I sprayed these olive drab, they almost look like they haven't been painted, which is weird. But we can come back and deal with that in post-production, he said. We'll fix it in post. So let's get this one in. And again, what I'm going to do is pick it up with the tip of a scalpel blade and just drop it in place like so. There we go. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. We'll let that dry for a few minutes, then we'll go in there. We're going to go in there with a little bit of paint just to blend it in a bit more. We've also got another decal to add, one that I forgot about, which is on the decal sheet. So, oddly, strange place for a decal to be, I know. You can tell I design decals for a living. I know where they go on a decal sheet. They go on the decal sheet. So we will, it's our little stars and stripes here, like so. Oh, glory. So we are going to soak that in some water, which I have just here. There we go. So we've given that a bit of a soak in some water, and then we'll leave that the required minute or so for the decal adhesive to dissolve. You can tell I've still got brain fog here. The simple words are eluding me. So, so what else have we got to add to this tonight? Really, not that much else. We've done the dials in there. I don't know if you can see them, but we've done them and we've picked them out with some gloss. Last night we used some very nice, I can't remember if it was, yeah, it was Ammo of MIG. We used some very nice Ammo of MIG crystal colors to do the lights here. I am aware that we probably need to pick out some of the smaller brake lights that go here as well, just in there. But I'll do that. I'll do that another night off camera. We've done our headlights. We did those last night and dropped them in, and they look fine. I mean, this is it. This is rapidly heading towards a conclusion, hopefully. Let's get a suitable paintbrush to put the decal on. Let's have a look. What one shall we use? I'll say hello in a minute, folks. I'm just still trying to get my head into broadcast mode here. So that'll probably take me at least another 20 years. Actually, while waiting for the decal to go, we will say hello to everybody now. So let's have a look. Who has been fool enough to come back and set themselves up for more of the same tonight? Damian Mullen, Anthony Bird, Dave Fleming, Mark Smith, Jerry Doyle, Larry Russo, Paul Milligan, Mike Williams. He says, here we go again. Yeah, hopefully, Mike, it'll be better this tonight. Stuart Templeton, Martin John Henry Smith, Russell Taylor, hello from Connecticut. Tim Tim Alex Maunder says some sound, please. Can you all hear me, folks? Can you all hear me fine? You have no sound? I think we do, Tim. Yeah, can everybody hear me? That's always a bit worrying when people say they can't hear me. Probably because Tim hasn't got his volume turned up. And nobody else is saying, yeah, can hear loud and clear. Tim, turn your sound up. I suspect he's doing that to wind me up. So, oh, we've got a windscreen wiper's gone AWOL, so that's always a good start to the show. So let's get this. Actually, while we're waiting for the windscreen wiper to waiting for the decal there to detach itself from the backing sheet, what we will do is we'll reattach this wiper blade which has come off. It's all go tonight, folks. I prefer it when I'm talking to people, you know, live on screen. That way there's less chance of things going wrong, in theory. Right, let's try this. Where are my tweezers? Get everything ready for the live show tonight, and my tweezers have disappeared, so never mind. It's not like I haven't got a million on the workbench here, but what we're going to do is we're going to be very brave, and we're actually going to drop that in using fingers. Oh, goodness me. Let's not have any repeats of last night's cock-up, shall we? No, let's just have a whole new raft of them. There they are. Right, okay. Come on, come on. Come on, you lot. Stop messing around. Note to self, take a week off from broadcasting and come back when your brain is actually functioning reasonably correctly. That's more like it. There we go. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. We haven't glued the bonnet down yet because I did think about doing some bits and pieces inside the bonnet, but then I thought, nah, I can't be bothered. So I'll just readjust that a bit more. We'll get it right in a minute. There we go. Right, how is our decal going? Our decal here is refusing to come off the backing sheet. There it is. There it goes. Right. We are going to float that into place with a little bit of Microset. Hurrah. Now, I am aware that this is going to be going onto the windscreen, and we have already partially weathered the windscreen. But again, we can fix that in post. We can go in there and rejig it and whatnot. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. Anyway, how is everybody this evening? I hope you're all enjoying whatever passes for Halloween in your neck of the woods, if indeed you even celebrate it. Do we celebrate it? Is it something we celebrate? It's a strangely pagan festival, but no, I don't know. I don't know if people. I know people have parties and things, and you know, and of course there is that dreaded trick-or-treating. Although thankfully we've had an absolute hoolie of a storm here, and that's put them all off. So Not that I'm a miser or anything, but I'm a miser. So I just don't like people disturbing me when I'm trying to get on with things. No, trick or treat. It's like, oh, really? Be all right if it was carol singers, but anyway. Right, there we go. That's it. I'm going to have people now sending complaints in. Doesn't like trick or treaters. Right, we just need to set that wiper again. And then we will. There we go. That's better. That's starting to look fine. So we've got the decal on. Like I say, we're going to go in there and we'll do a little bit of weathering on it just to blend it in a little bit more. I don't know what I'm going to do about this on the bonnet. Again, these are all things that I'll fix in about a couple of days before Telford. But what I need to do tonight is just get this, really, really finished. Let's have a look. Let's look at some of the comments here. Tim is still right. Tim, have you got the volume up on your MacBook? Because everybody here can hear me, and Tim is saying there is no sound. Tim, on your MacBook, check to see that you haven't muted the sound. Yeah, see Tim there, loud and clear. Mike Williams, loud and clear. Paul Milligan, Jerry Doyle, I can hear you. Probably some people thinking they wish you couldn't hear me, but yeah. So Tim, Maunder, check. Make sure you've got the volume turned up on your MacBook or your iMac or whatever you're watching it on. So, right. What are we going to add now? Do you know what? We are so close to completion here. I'm just having a look at it here. I think the last thing we've got to add, really, here comes the rain again, is the tarp, and that's it. Let's zoom out a bit. There we go. Is to add the tarp. So I think that's what we're going to do. And barring any final little touch-ups and things, I think we will call that finito for now. In fact, what I'll do is I'll do what I do on a lot of projects, and that is finish it, go away, come back and look at it about a week later, and if there's anything glaring, I will fix it. If not, that's it. It's done. Model done and dusted. So it's always a bit tricky, but let's blob a bit of super glue on there. And a bit of super glue on there. And there is something to be said for doing this work before you actually do your final varnishing, because you can might need to go in there with a bit of matte varnish and blend it, but I'm not going to worry about that. If I need to do any last minute touch-ups and spraying, I'll do it by hand actually. So let's get this tarp on. Tarpon, obviously being the British name for the Grumman Avenger. Nothing to do with this. I just thought that was an amusing play on words. Obviously, I found it amusing. Nobody else did, but right. We've got that pretty much in place. There's a little bit of give where it kind of slides about a bit, but I'm just going to hold everything in place for a while. I'm also just having a look to see at the back there of how much this, it does just need a little bit of minor adjustment there, because I need that to be sitting pretty much, I need that to be sitting pretty much in the middle. So and then that goes like that. And that is pretty much it, folks. It really is. Like I say, I don't like there's a huge huge gap there between the windscreen and the bonnet, but that's just a consequence of just the way this is hinged. I'm not going to worry about that. It's just, that's it. It's there. Let's just brush that decal solvent off. I mean, might be that it needs to sit back a bit more. Let's just see. It's difficult to see where these so that's the problem. That wants to sit like that. Yeah, what it is there's a bit of spring on the bonnet kind of catches here, so it just wants to sit proud of the front of the bonnet. So that can be fixed with a bit of super glue, but what I am going to do is we're going to get that, we'll get this part in place first. Then when that's done, then we can go in there and sort out everything to do with it nestling down onto the bonnet there. So like I say, we've got a big gap there, but yeah, we'll deal with that again. We'll deal with that later on. Beyond that, I think that's pretty much it. There are a few little bits of extra weathering that I would like to do. For example, on this jerry can here, that still needs a little bit of work to blend it in. Although, strictly speaking, that could actually be a jerry can that's been half-inched off another vehicle, a slightly cleaner vehicle. But that doesn't quite make sense. So we will go in there. It does need a little bit of weathering and blending. And there's also a couple of other areas that just need a bit of work on it. But apart from that, I think we're done, really. Yeah, we've got that the American flag just to blend in on the windscreen as well. But that has been, I'm just checking the alignment of the tarp at the back there. No, that's fine. That's plumb center. So that has been a really fun project. It's been a bit of a long project. I mean, it's taken me the best part of 6 months when I thought I'd be able to build it in, probably about 5 or 6 days. But yet again, a vintage Italeri kit has crossed my workbench, and I have loved every second of it. I really have. The reason why this thing stalled to a halt was nothing to do with the kit. It was just me. I just lost the plot on it, really. But now that we've kind of come back to it, and it's, I've come back to it with fresh eyes, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was in terms of how I'd kind of mucked it up a bit. So that, it does the job. It's going to go on a display. It's going to go on the Hobby Company display at Telford. Yeah, I'm 90% happy with that. Not perfect, but by no means absolutely terrible. So that's it for that project. Hurrah! We've actually finished. We actually finished a model. That makes a change. Yeah, Mike Williams says, if Tim can't hear anything, he won't hear you telling him how to try and rectify it. Right, okay. I'm going to put, that's a very good point, Mike. I'm going to put a comment up here, and it is Tim Maunder. How you spell Maunder? Everyone can hear me. Turn up your volume. There we go. So, Tim Maunder, everyone can hear me. Turn up your volume. And that's the last we're going to say of that this evening. We got some Anson talk. Okay, Tony Surridge has mentioned the Mini Art 3-wheeler, which is sat on the shelf over there. I'm going to go and get that in a minute and give you an update on where we were with that. Peter Berg says, no trick-or-treaters out here in the country, maybe one or two, but not the hordes like we got in the city. Well, like I say, it's absolutely raining cats and dogs out there. So, you know, and usually the cutoff point is about 7:30. So might have escaped this year. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's good fun. But it's not good fun when you get kind of like, you know, people causing mischief, he said, trying not to sound like a fuddy-duddy old kind of like, you know, newspaper letter writer. I do write letters to the news. I do write letters to the newspaper. Yeah, I know. Anyway, but yeah, I like organised trick-or-treating, but not the rogue bands of, you know, desperados is a good way of putting it. Right, let's move away from trick-or-treat gate. Mike Williams says, I'm working on the ICM Bofa and Special Hobby Mirage 3 CJ. Also have the new Airfix Anson arrived today, which looks fantastic. I got to say, if you've not been had a look at Mike's Mirage on his Facebook page, it is absolutely gorgeous. It really, I mean, Mike's ability to churn out high quality models is just phenomenal. He's a powerhouse. You're a powerhouse, Mike. And it does look very nice. And Andy Brennan says the Anson is indeed fantastic. It is. I'm still waiting for mine to turn up, but I'll probably talk about, probably show you some bits and pieces on Sunday with a bit of luck. And what else have we got here? David Jones says morning from down under. Right, Tim, advice here. Tim could try dropping off and rejoining. I've had that before. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Let's go and get the Mini Art 3-wheeler. But before we do that, I'm just making sure I'm on the right camera tonight. So we don't have a repeat of me yakking on about stuff and you can't see me. Although most of the time that's a godsend, trust me. Let's go and get the 3-wheeler. So bear with us a second. Oh, right. All right, here we go. The Tempo 3-wheeler. Where were we up last time? Oh, I've forgotten. Right, I know where we were. Right, we were the Royal We, obviously. We were applying. I started putting these little brackets on here. They were a Pain Dons Le Derrière, so I stopped putting them on. I think that I can't tell whether that's supposed to be angled like that or not. I think that's probably been slightly kiboshed in the box there. Let's have a look. Yes, something's happened to it. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, we've had a little bit of a accident there with the delicate photo etch, and that has ended up being a little bit crushed. A bit like my expectations for Liverpool versus Leeds on Saturday, but let's not talk about that. So there we go. That's done. I mean, sounds churlish when you're talking about, you're talking about a box of plastic, and especially Mini Art, who are at the moment, in Ukraine, with everything that's going on there at the moment. But the one thing I will say is, don't like the photo etch. Some of it is okay, but some of it is just a little bit too finicky, a little bit too fussy. In fact, half of it I really am not going to bother using. So apologies to Mini Art. They've done it for a reason, but things like these brackets and stuff, they really could have been done. Oops, see, done it again. they really could have been probably done in plastic, even if they were going to be a little bit overscale. That's just me. I'm not a big fan of photo etch, quite frankly. And we've still got some bits and pieces on the sheet here. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. The one bit I did like was the screens for the engine. So those were quite nice. But other than that, perhaps it's just because I'm so inherently lazy that I just prefer building stuff and blitzing through it, and so yeah, not a criticism of mini art. That is purely me being lazy. Right, goodness me, where was I with this? And the answer is still haven't got very far with it. We've managed to get that all kind of like glued together, which is the base of the cab. And I also did the top of the cab as well, with the daring idea that I can paint the interior parts, then bring it together like so, he says. Lol. Yeah, so we can do it. We can do it like that. That'll work. But it's still just a bit delicate and fragile. So we'll soldier on with that. Do some more of it tonight, I think, and field your comments as well. But there are. This is one of these things. There are so many kind of sub-assemblies that require painting, and then another bit of painting, and then painting on top of that. I'm trying to work through it. I'm trying to work through it methodically. But in trying to work through it methodically, I'm not getting any. I'm not getting any further with it. I just seem to be kind of hitting pauses on it all the time. Not Mini Art's fault. That's just purely me overthinking it, I think. A friend of mine, she says to me, just do it. Stop thinking, do it. So perhaps that's what I need to do with this tonight, is stop overthinking it and just get on with things. Perhaps I should just be gluing the whole cab together and not worrying about having to paint separate things or whatever. It's otherwise. I mean, I've had this model since before the invasion. So I've had that for, what's that, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, coming to November now. So that's the best part of 9 months. And I haven't got any further with it. And so I really do need to, pull my finger out on it. Give you a good example of how how much like this speech at the moment, how I keep stalling and just wittering around with it. And that is, for example, these door panels. You have to paint that the exterior color, fair enough. These bits are like an interior color. So that is, what's that, 07, I think that's dark gray. Paint chart around here somewhere. Yeah, so that's like a medium gray. It's just down there. It's a medium gray, whereas everything else is going to be the exterior color. So what I thought I would do, and bear in mind I'm not built for thinking, is I thought I'd assemble them all as separate things, and then I thought I would paint them separately and then assemble them. But it's just going to be, do you know what? I'm probably better off gluing it together like this, and I can probably go in there and mask it and, pick it out that way. What do you think, folks? Do you think I should paint them separately, but it just means I've got lots of sub-assemblies kicking around in the box, or glue them together and then paint them in situ? Tricky one. I don't know what to do. COVID brain fog. There we go again. So, well, see what people have to say. Okie dokie. Yeah, Russell Taylor says Anson does look great, but every one of the copies I bought has a cold shunt line through the rear third of the late style windscreen. Okay, good to know. Obviously, you know, that's something to watch out for. Really, I haven't got a production copy yet, so I can't comment on that. Dougal McWoogle says, will this be available later? I missed the proceedings until now. Yes, Dougal, we're going to hang on to this one. Unlike last night's 1989 Brit Awards fiasco, this one will be staying up online a bit longer, a little bit longer. So, sorry, a little bit thirsty there. And let's have a look. No, I think we're up to date on the comments here. So yeah, what do you think, folks? Should I paint those separately, or should I just glue them together and be done with it? Alan, well, here we go. Alan Richardson says, stick them together, make it easy for yourself. There you go. Right, fine. That's it. We've had a decision, that executive decision from Alan there. I'll go with that. So can he find his Tamiya extra thin? Yes, he can. There it is. So, okay, we'll go with it. Because like I say, this can be an absolute, it can be really a crippling malady that you are trying to get on with things on a model, and then you stop and you think, well, should I do that, or should I do that, or should I do that? And it brings it all to an absolute standstill. So I'm just seeing how those, yeah, that aligns like that. So we're gonna glue them together. Meh. Let's just get this thing built. I would like to actually sit down and build something from nuts to soup in a matter of days, and I may well do that at some stage. It's just what with life and COVID and all the usual things, whatever, is my workshop time has been, you know, massively disrupted this year. So we are trying to, you know, rectify that at the moment. Right, that's that one done. Right, let's do the next one. Let's just have a quick look at the comments. No, we're fine. We're fine. We are all up to date. So, so let's do the other. Here we go. We've got another one here. Oops, a daisy. Oh, that's interesting. Why isn't that? The other one went together quite nicely. There we go. That's better. Now, I should be meeting up on Wednesday with Mr. Andrew Farmer to finalise what we're doing for Telford, what everybody's feelings are about Telford. I'm sort of in the camp that I want to go and may probably go, but like I say, it's all down to, at the moment, it's just this blessed kind of like after effects of COVID. So, and like I say, today, kind of woke up feeling a little bit, got on with a couple of things, but then again, by mid-afternoon, that was it. I was not sleeping, not, you know, kind of like lying down and falling asleep. It's just your energy levels absolutely fall through the floor. So sorry to keep talking about this, but, you know, you know, I think I was talking to a friend of mine today, and he said the same thing, that he's kind of at home thinking to himself, is it normal that I'm feeling this tired? And you know, and we were talking about it today, and I said, well, no, you've got to talk about it to your friends and people and things, because otherwise, you start to think, oh God, there's something wrong with me. It's not. This is classic long COVID. So Anthony Bird says, just looking at my Airfix Anson clear parts, and they look absolutely fine. So I can't comment because I haven't got a production kit here. I've got the test shots. I'm trying to think what I've done with the test shots. Problem is, if I reach down and grab test shots, I'll probably then pick up something that you're not supposed to see. So we're not going to do that. Exciting things, people. Exciting things. I keep looking at this and thinking we've done more, and then I think we haven't done more. And we've got this engine which is getting in the way as well. Honest to goodness, it feels as though we have done quite a bit of work on this, and then it feels like we've barely done any work on it. We'll get there in the end. Like I say, I just thought we'd do a little bit of work on it tonight, and trust me, this has been a little bit of work. It's just been barely anything. And this, to be honest with you, this I don't need to get completed for Telford anyway, because this is just me. This is a private build. I do need to get the Austin Katie finished, which is just painting now. It's just purely painting. So we might have a bit of a wiggle on that this week. Might even do some pop-up lives, simply because by doing pop-up lives, I am forced to sit in the workshop and get on with things. So it's more for my benefit than yours. What else? I'm just having a look here. That's all I'm going to do on that tonight, because it requires me to sit down and have a really good look to try and work out what I'm doing. It's a beautiful kit. It really is. It just requires a bit more concentration than I can muster at the moment. So we will return to it at some stage. Well, probably in bits and pieces during the week. But right now, it just requires me to think a bit too much, and I can't. There are some, obviously when you're building, sometimes you can just be here and you can just be you can just be mashing bits together, and it's fine. Mini-Art are a kit company that require your utmost attention and concentration. I don't have that got the concentration or the attention right now, so as you may have noticed from last night's show. So anyway, just making sure we've got the right camera as always. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. And Stan Codling says, now mask both sides of the door windows. You have both doors ready to paint. Yep, okie dokie. We'll get that. We will get around to putting some paint on this at some stage. Like I say, it's a bit like, it's a modeling Rubik's Cube, this tempo. There are solutions to how you can actually get it together, but it's all well on instructions that they say, well, paint this and then assemble that. But as we all know, sometimes it's not quite that straightforward. And I'm sure we'll crack it, but it is just going to require a little bit more kind of finessing, I think is a good way of putting it. But anyway, we will come back to the tempo at some stage. Shall we go and get the Airfix Katie? I think we should, seeing that this is still, technically speaking, it is still Airfix Autumn, although bear in mind, we're into October tomorrow. I wish we were. I'd like to have October again. We're into November tomorrow, and November runs out at the end of autumn. Autumn runs out at the end of November or the 21st of November. Take your pick which calendar you subscribe to. So let's just go and get the Katie. Oh. let's go and get the Katie and make old man noises while I do it. So, where were we last time? Well, answer to that is we've kind of done quite a bit and then not quite enough. So let's have a look. We started doing some shading on the interior of the, I was going to say patient. What would you call that? The patient, the first aid bit? I don't know. I try and avoid going into ambulance as much as possible. So we just kind of like base coated that with some desert, so with the Portland stone, light stone, Portland stone. It's one or the other. It's up on the shelf there. But these interiors were apparently a creamy color, not unlike Cream Voice. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to be using that for the interior color. In fact, in best Blue Peter traditions, here's one I prepared earlier. That probably looks a little bit over weathered, and it should probably be a little bit cleaner, bearing in mind this is supposed to be a a sterile and hygienic environment in the ambulance. But Dad, you know what? I quite like it. This one does need toning down considerably, but beyond that, it's we're in the ballpark. I think is the best way of putting it. So we will be cracking on with that. Trust me, we need to be cracking on with it. Let's put it that way. Unfortunately, the Spitfire is going to have to wait, but we'll finish that for Christmas, I think, because I can't. It's not a case of I bit off more than I can chew. It was going well, and then like I say, real life got in the way. So we've got that. Just needs another coat of a sandy color, just to the sandy color, the Cream Voice, just to tone that back a bit. I'm just having a look to see, are my airbrushes set up? No, we're not going to do any airbrushing tonight. That's too much of a temptation for a disaster of some sorts. So if I'm going to be doing any airbrushing, folks, I'm going to be doing airbrushing with a bit of prep, with a lot of prep. So that's what I mean. It's ridiculous. It's everything in this box here it's all together. It just needs finishing off. I think I'm sure a lot of people watching the show think I need finishing off, but we will just need to see what other colors we need to paint things in. But yeah, that's it for that. That is right. Concentrate. I need to sit down and really blitz through that. So perhaps tomorrow evening I will have a wait until my energy is a bit more in tune, and I will crack on with that. I'll do a little bit more, probably do some work on it very early tomorrow morning. Got a weird thing happens this time of year, and that is I wake up as soon as the clocks go back. I wake up at about 6 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 5:30. Can't get back to sleep. Just go down into the office and start work, or do some modeling or whatever. It's you kind of like you're downstairs. The world is dark and it's quiet outside, and it feels kind of special. It feels like you're the only person kind of like awake at that time in the morning. So yeah, it's weird. It's kind of happened for about the last kind of decade. But as soon as the clocks go back, I don't know what it is. My entire brain shifts into a different mode. It's bizarre. Right, let's go and get one more project that we're going to talk about, because this has been hanging around since last year, and this really does need finishing off. So bear with. Oh my goodness me. Right. This was the then new Tamiya Panzer IV Ausf G, which I started building this last summer. And in fact, I started doing more work and painting and whatever when we were at Warfest last year. You know, the James Holland and Al Murray event. And of course, it's like a time machine. This is, I mean, this is where we were. And I think we got the decals on, and then these have not been sealed yet, so they're still a bit glossy around the edges. And I think we were doing some, chipping on the day. So there's a little bit of, I'll just show you. There was a little bit of sponge chipping around the bottom of the hatch there. So this is none of this is finished. None of this is started. So this is very much a kind of like a very early kind of work in progress as a demo. Why I haven't finished this, I don't know. It will be finished, and it will need to be finished at some stage. I know it's a kind of like yesterday's news as a kit, but and yeah, there's the oops, daisy. Here are the tracks which we started painting, and that's, yeah, we've got a little bit of kind of like a little bit of distressing of patina on that. You're probably wondering, well, they don't look very metallic, JM, and that is because the technique, oops, Daisy, the technique I like to use is to get them this color, and you can, I don't know if you can see, but there's a little bit of kind of distressing and speckling and whatever on them, and get them to this stage, and then when I'm happy with that, then I will dry brush the raised portions, you know, the contact areas, with some Vallejo German camo black brown, which is a wonderfully wonderful kind of like worn, it's kind of how you describe it. It just looks, it looks metallic without actually being metallic. But then what you do is you then burnish that with some graphite powder, and that really gives it that, you know, that wonderful kind of like you know, I wasn't going to say rusty, but people will go, oh, the tracks didn't rust. They don't rust, but it just gives it that worn patina. So this is how I start painting tracks, which is to actually start with completely the wrong color, but then bit by bit by bit, you actually start getting it to look like a track. And if you go somewhere like the Tank Museum and look at their tracks, it's quite interesting. Our perceptions of what a tank track should look like in terms of coloring, and how they actually end up over time, is a little bit different. And I like the way the tracks weather at the Tank Museum. I know they've probably not been in use for years and whatever, but that's what we see. That's what we take as a point of reference. So, like I say, these are at their very, very early stages. We do need to finish this off, really. I'll have a word with Andy and say, what do you want me to do with this, Andy? Probably say, finish it off, you clown. So we'll do that. We've got some of the Pioneer tools are all done. And you know what, folks? On my next tank, which hopefully will be the Comet, what I'm going to do on that is I'm going to go down the route of gluing everything in place, all the stowage, everything. I'm not going to be doing this painting it separately malarkey, which I tend to do, and every time I do it, I hate myself, because it's just, oh, this is a pain. This is, and then I get around to building the next model, and I build it and paint it separately. And I need to do something where I get a model together, like, you know, like I say, I'm going to try this on the Comet, get it together whereby it's largely painted, then I do the detail painting, then I start messing around with the weathering. None of this painting the wheels separately and the running gear and all the Pioneer tools and all that and whatever get everything in place, and then start painting. It probably means you're going to have a little bit of a tricksy time getting a paintbrush into some of the details and whatever. But honestly, the approach that I take, which is still the approach that I had, well, it's the approach I've had for the last 40 odd years or so, it's not working. I need to change it and streamline it and just make it more efficient. I'm trying to be kind of, oh, look at me, I'm painting these things separately. But as I did it with the Jeep, you do that, and then when you actually get around to assembling the finished model, you suddenly become aware that bits of it don't match the model because they've been weathered at different tempos, different kind of, different requirements. So we're going to do that. Probably a bit too late for this Panzer IV, but we'll get on and finish that. And I'll tell you something else. What I was hoping to do last year, was I've got the Italeri Panzer IV G. That's an F, isn't it? Yeah, that's the. Oh, that is a G. Perhaps the Italeri one is the. Might be an F. Might be that's a D. It's a Panzer IV D, and I just like the idea of building them side by side. It's 40 odd years of technological difference between them, and probably people are thinking, why do you want to build the Italeri one? I just do. It's a kit that I always wanted to build, and this comes from seeing that advert in the Hornbury Express magazine, little Italeri advert in there, and just thinking, yeah, I want to build that. It just sometimes you cannot explain your desire to make a model, because sometimes you want to build something and it's not going to be the best or the newest. Spencer's doing this at the moment with his legacy builds, with his Monogram Century series. I mean, some people are probably thinking, why are you building that? Why don't you just go out and buy the Trumpeter kit? Or why don't you build that? Or, why don't you build a more modern kit? Well, that's not the point of what Spencer's doing. And it's like me. Okay, this is a brand new state-of-the-art Panzer IV. But I do like, gotta say, I do like the vintage Tamiya armor kits. But I probably like the Italeri ones a bit more. They're probably not better, but there's just something about them. They're just, and having built the Italeri Jeep, the Jeep ambulance year before last, and building this 24th scale Jeep. Prior to that, I built the Italeri Pink Panther Land Rover. I'm trying to think what else I've been building. Italeri vehicles. I'll think of them in a minute. I've got that Ford Escort that I'm building as well. But I love, Italeri, ex-Eschi that are in Italeri boxes. They're kits of my youth. So I still have a certain amount of attachment to them. I can understand people these days, they look at it and go, well, they're just old kits. Why do you want to build old kits? I just do. I'm sorry. It's my workbench, my rules. So, oh boy, we should get that made up into stickers and sell them at Telford, I think. What do you think, folks? I see. Jeff Baker says F2. Yeah, I think it's the Panzer F. COVID brain fog. Nostalgia. He says nostalgia kits we associate with growing up but may never have built. Yeah, exactly. And especially, coming from a background where money was always a bit tight. Although my parents did their absolute best to make sure that we didn't go without. Oh, hello, Mum, if you're watching, by the way. But obviously there were times when get the violins out, folks. But there were times when I would have dearly loved to have a certain kit that was in the local model shop window. We just simply couldn't afford it, really. So yeah, I think some of this is also going back to your child and suddenly thinking, yeah, I'm going to have that. I'm going to have that kit. And I've visited some that I missed out on first time round. And it's a powerful thing to be able to, there's a powerful draw to being able to, those unrequited projects from your youth that you're now able to actually go in and actually do something about them. And it's absolutely fabulous. And I tell you what, I'm just having a quick think here. I tell you one of the projects, I'll tell you this. One of the projects that I may do in the new year, if we've got some time, and that is the Italeri 1/35 scale Kugelwagen. Now, I built that kit as a kid. Oh lordy, it must have been 1979 or something. And I can remember walking up West Hill with my mother, and there was like a little shop there. It was called Cat's Whisker, and it was all kind of like, it was just like a bric-a-brac shop really. And in the window was an Italeri Kugelwagen, and it was cheaps, so I got it. Thank you, Mum. And I built it I literally built it in the space of an afternoon. And when I got another copy of that kit from the Avon Scale Model Show about 10 years ago, I can remember sitting in here thinking to myself, I wanted a project to build where I could try out some weathering techniques and things, because I was madly into the Mig Jimenez kind of weathering videos and things. So I thought that'll do. But I remember sitting at the workbench and thinking, but I tell you what, I'm not going to build this in an hour this time. An hour later, it was structurally completed. And I wasn't rushing it. It is a ridiculously easy model to build, and it's a ridiculously rapid model to build. So I thought what we could do is we'll do a live video probably in the new year, maybe over Christmas. I don't know. We'll pick a time. I've got about 3 or 4 copies of that kit now. So what we'll do is we'll do a live show where I build the Italeri Kugelwagen, because it is honestly, only when you see it being built do you suddenly realize that's ridiculous. It's a beautiful kit. It still is. It's still very nicely detailed. But in terms of construction, it is ridiculously easy to build. It's a cheap kit. You could paint and weather that in a day, I reckon. I'm not going to do that, but oh, hello, compressor. But yeah, it can be done. It can be done. I'm also looking at the George Washington on his horseback here. We will be doing some bits and pieces to that as well, but not tonight. Anyway, look, folks, that is pretty much it for tonight. I am also very consciously aware that with this Panzer IV comes a beautiful set of figures. Those of you who remember my misadventures with the Kettenkrad crew, try saying that after a few drinks, the Kettenkrad crew will think to yourself, well, that was only 3 figures, JM, and in here there are 5. Yeah, there are. Yeah, really looking forward to that. However, what I'm going to do with those is I am going to streamline the painting process. I'm going to do a Martin Kovac and cheat. Well, not cheat. He does things with an amazing amount of skill, but I'm going to use the airbrush to try and do effects and suggest shading and highlighting and whatever without going too mad with a paintbrush. So that's another. We will get around to finishing off this Panzer IV. It's a beautiful model. I hate having beautiful models sitting around in the workshop unfinished. And I built the D last year or the year before last, I forget. Talking of paintbrushes, your last one for tonight, folks. Your last one for tonight. I don't know if I showed you these before, but I'll show you these again. I got these from Cassart, which is an online retailer. And these were, it says they're exclusive to Cassart. These are done as they're kind of like, these are actually more or less aimed at modelers. As you can see, I haven't even used these yet, but I do have some other similar brushes like this. These are synthetics, and they are absolutely brilliant. Like I say, I paid £8.50 for this, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that works out at about kind of like £1.10 per brush or something. But like I say, I got these last year, so I will get around to using them probably on some figures. But goodness me, I know we've spoken about this before, and that is that I've got brushes here that are eye-wateringly expensive. I bought them when I bought them when before the cost of living crisis, obviously, but they were, yeah, lots of pounds, shall we say. Sable. But I've then been trying synthetics over the last year or so, and yeah, I'm found some that are actually very, very good. Perhaps we'll do a talk about them another time. Anyway, Jim Altergott says, I almost bought the Panzer IV kit, chose the Tamiya Achilles instead. Jolly good kit. It is indeed. Simon Lewis says, what scale was the Kubelwagen? It was 35th scale, Simon. I'm not kidding. It's just, like I say, I built it about 10 years ago, and I remember thinking to myself, right, well, we're going to slow down on this one. We're not going to be kind of like, 12-year-old me kind of like throwing a model together. We are going to take our time and be measured and build it in a mature and methodical process. And oh, goodness me, it's finished. It was that easy. And Simon Lewis also says, I love building them in the Matchbox 72nd scale Comet, 76 scale Skyman. Just got the tracks, just got to do the tracks and weather it. I've got to say, the Vespid Comets, I've seen them in a few model shops and things. I know some people have been raving about them. I don't know what it is with me with 72nd and 76 scale armor these days. I just don't derive that much pleasure from it anymore. Perhaps it's because it's too small. Perhaps it's because my technique has altered so much that I can't. I mean, I've built stuff. You see me building stuff here. I built that. I built that armored personnel carrier from Dragon. I built the IBG cruiser tank. I built that 156 scale Chevy from Rubicon. But I just, as Tim Maunder says to me, it's too small. I think just too small. But I'm sure something will come along that will change my mind on that. And Simon Lewis also says, growing up, couldn't afford Tamiya. Yeah, same here. I used to see Miniature Modeling used to do a feature on readers' models, and one of the things they had in there was somebody did a diorama, and it was all kind of like Italeri Horch staff cars and a mixture of Tamiya and Italeri Panzer IVs and something like that. And I just remember thinking at the time, lucky so-and-so that he can afford to go out and get all those kits and build them in a diorama. What could I afford? Tamiya 35th scale BMW motorbike. That was it. First Tamiya tank I ever built was their Stuart tank. In fact, I've got a copy of that kit over on the shelf there, which is in primer. And yeah, that was Hamleys in Bristol. I think it cost about £1.80 back in 1980. And I remember thinking to myself, goodness me, a tank that's under £2 in 35th scale. So I persuaded Dad to buy it for me for Christmas. But yeah, like so many people, Tamiya armor, it was pounds, and it was big pounds, and yeah, we just couldn't afford it. So and here we go. Jim Aldergott says, I too couldn't afford Tamiya back in my youth. Monogram and Revell were the affordable brands for me. Yeah, Jim, likewise. And this is why, again, I kind of grew up building 72nd scale and 76th scale armor, because that's all I could afford. I liked tanks, but I couldn't afford Tamiya. Anyway, I've made up for it now, and then real life has come along and said, no, you need to pay your electricity bill now. So Anyway, look, that's it for tonight. Hopefully, this show has made a little bit more sense than that absolute nonsensical disaster last night. We should be back on Wednesday. I'll see if I can rope somebody else in to do a two-hander. Like I say, unfortunately, at the moment, real life has managed to insert itself into into everybody's lives at the moment. So we're all kind of like trying to juggle other things and trying to get on with some modeling and whatever. And not everybody wants to do broadcasts when your brain isn't in the right place. So we're going to try something. I'm also going to have a word with Jen, get her on the show. She doesn't know that at the moment, but I will have a word with Jen. And Mark Ryan says, if I recall correctly, we only had Matchbox and Eschi in Namibia. I love Eschi armor kits. I really do. I'll be on for another hour talking about them. And also Mike Williams, if you are still watching, if you want to do a live, Mike, give us a shout, because I'd like to talk to you about the special hobby Mirages you're building at the moment, or Mirage rather. So it's just we're just all having to deal with other things, frankly, but we will be getting back as a band at some stage. We're all doing solo projects. I think that's the best way of describing it. Anyway, look, it is now coming up to just short of 9:15. Or if you were in my car this morning and you noticed you hadn't changed your clock, it was confusing for a while. Let's put it that way. So yeah, we'll be back midweek, hopefully. Until then, as always, it just remains for me to say thank you for watching. Do appreciate it. Obviously, we do appreciate the support you give for this channel, especially when we produce absolute horror stories like last night. I mean, if we'd have done it tonight, it would have been perfect because it's Halloween. But yeah, we've had Mike on before. We're getting one again. Mike, we're getting you on the show again. So anyway, look, that's it for tonight. We'll be back midweek. Until then, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we will see you very, very soon. Good night.